Today, we're looking at a green ink by KWZ, their Iron Gall Green number 3. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, there's timestamps down below so that you can skip around to the parts you're most interested in, but if you've got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. You can also follow me over on Instagram, and if you're new here and like fountain pen inks, I would invite you to subscribe. I do a new ink review daily. To make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then put the ink into this Lamy All-Star with a broad nib, wrote with it for a day, and used it to take the notes for this video. In order to standardize some of my writing samples, I always use Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper for all of the inks. I do use other papers, and some of those will show up later in the video. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this ink up in sample form, so it came in a vial like this. And to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feathers spread, halo sheen, some very nice shading. The extra fine is just a hair lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, some very nice peppering of shading throughout, quite nice, 8 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, about the same tone as the stub. With no feather spread, halo sheen, it does offer hints of shading, not a ton really, just hints, 15 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both don't really show a lot of color variation, although the extra fine does give us some in the writing. Tomoe River. No bleeding, normal Tomoe River ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, it does offer some shading. The extra fine is lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, it too offers moments of shading, not a whole lot. You really got to go looking for them. It barely consider it. 16 seconds to dry. Medium is dark like the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 40 seconds to dry. This scrubby shows us no color variation in either, and the extra fine struggled to give us some every now and then. And Rhodia, with no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, spots of shading throughout. Extra fine is just a hair lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, spots of shading, really struggling to do it. Not incredible, but there is a peppering of very dark letters. 10 seconds to dry. Medium is dark as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 18 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we're not getting a ton, although we do get peppering of it in the extra fine. I agree with Vita that we learn a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see this light brown at the bottom. It's pushing its way up. We do see a very bright green that's going on, and then a kind of darker turquoise color. Now the one on the right I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And that brownish line is much more forming there. It's really getting in there. It's pushing its way up. The green is a bit more pronounced, and we see that it's a lighter green. And we can also see that that darker turquoise is actually a very light turquoise at the top. Now this one I let dry for 24 hours before I dunk it into water. That gray line, very pronounced, very there. It does move up. Sorry, I said gray. It's a brownish line. We then get that very bright green. There's just a lot of it. And then really that same turquoise, it's settling in at its pace there. This one I let dry for 72 hours before I dunked it into water. That brown line very much there and in the bottom. That's going to be hopefully a hang around color. The green is unaffected, the turquoise is unaffected. Really the difference from 2 to 3 days was almost nothing. Resistance tests are done to see how well this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, the capital H makes me feel that I would not want to use this in a note-taking situation because I'm afraid of losing things. Water is lifting the darkest tones. That brown and some of that green is still really there. It's not moving it out of the way. Pen flush is doing the exact same thing that water's doing, really nothing more. Now, I never had to use anything more than water to get this out of my pen. The 1/3 bleach solution is completely removing it from the page, and I don't see you needing that to get it out of your pen. I test viscosity or flow with a thing called a tilt test. I'll link it somewhere down below or up in the cards. Now, for the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. KWZ's Iron Gall Green number 3 has a viscosity of 2.29, making it normal. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. I find this by using my writing samples that were done on Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. KWZ's Iron Gall Green number 3 has an average dry time of 18 seconds, making it still normal. Instead of finding inks that look like KWZ's Iron Gall Green number 3, I would prefer to find an ink to complement its color on the page. I went for a nice red, and I chose Noodler's Tiananmen. The second writing sample is done on black and red Franklin-Christoph and Limone paper. Here we're looking at black and red notebooks. Now we get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, some very nice shading. The extra fine is about the same tone, maybe just a hair lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, great shading throughout here. Really very nice peppering a lot of dark letters around with 6 seconds to dry. Medium, by far the darkest tone on the page, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 8 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby for both show no color variation, although the extra fine and the stub show a lot. Franklin-Christoph. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen. It does offer some decent shading here. The extra fine is about the same tone as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no real shading. It's more absorbent paper, 5 seconds to dry. Medium, by far the darkest tone on the page, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 9 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show no color variation, and we're not getting any. Last up is Limone paper. Now, we do get some bleeding. You can see going on here. It's not touching the page underneath all the way through. It does lead to a little bit of ghosting. It's the medium, it's not the extra fine that's doing it. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is just a tad lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, and 6 seconds to dry. Medium is the darkest by far on the page, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 11 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we didn't get any, and that is all that I have for the writing sample. So what do I think of KWZ's Green Iron Gall number 3? I wish this was the bottle of the Iron Gall ink that I got. The tone is perfect for me. Now, while it doesn't offer tons of shading, the tone of this green is exactly what I tend to think of on green inks for fountain pens, even though it doesn't have all that camouflage shading that I would love. So what nib and pen give the best writing experience with this ink? While it does manage to shade with just about any pen that you use, I find that it looks best with a fine pen or a stub. Oddly, wildly different ends of the spectrum. If you've enjoyed this video, remember, I like thumbs up, you like thumbs up, everybody likes thumbs up. Unless you didn't like it, then give me the thumbs down. Both are good. Thanks for watching.